What is up, everyone, and welcome to the regular season, our free agency special. And it's been about a week since free agency started, and we're back with an off-season special, one of two that we have lined up for you. As always, I'm joined by the beautiful Nate and the awesome Ant. Gentlemen, it's been less than a month.
Has it really been that long, Jack?
How are we doing? Nate, how are you? How's everything going?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I'm getting ready for a move in a couple weeks. I just finished commentating a league season for a video game. That was fun. And, well, free agency's been pretty good for my team. So it's been a nice March for me football-wise. I'll say that.
Oh, man. It's been great. Ant, how are you, bud?
I've been waiting for us to come back. Very excited. Felt good. This is something different besides Destiny, so I'm really happy right now because all I've been seeing is Destiny. So I'm good. Ready for football, and yeah, Sam Darnold.
Yeah, if anyone didn't know, Ant and I have not taken time off from each other. We've been playing Destiny almost every day together since Witch Queen came out. So, my goodness. Well, free agency has started. It has been an absolute madhouse, like an off season I've never seen before. Let's just hop into some of the top headlines. We're a week in, 9 days if you count the tampering period. And holy guacamole, Jimmy G is still on the 49ers. Cam Newton doesn't have a team, and neither do OBJ, Julio, and Jarvis Landry. Meanwhile, Odell Beckham Jr. is lobbying for Jarvis to all 31 teams on Twitter. And Paul, I Love Mondays, noted that he needs a friend like OBJ. Okay, those three. Let's talk about those three because, like, OBJ, obviously coming off an ACL injury in the Super Bowl. Julio Jones, everyone say doesn't have a lot of gas left in the tank, whatever. When Jerry Rice hit 32, everyone was like, oh, he's in the prime of his career. Now Julio Jones is falling apart. Okay, don't believe it. It's just what happens when you stick him with Ryan Tannehill. And then Jarvis Landry got released by the Browns. Nate, what is going on with these top-tier receivers still available?
I'm like, on one hand, I get it, right? People looking at they got the age question going on. They're like, okay, Julio Jones didn't, it's not like he was blowing it up over there in Tennessee. So maybe teams, I guess it kind of comes down to this draft situation, right? There's a couple of big wide receiver names in there. And I feel like if you're a team right now in the NFL, especially with the cap issues that many of them are having, unlike, I don't know, there's a couple teams. I think there's a couple teams that don't have cap issues. I'm having a hard time thinking of them right now. But anyway, probably going to try to get a little bit of a cheaper, younger talent early in that draft if they can. I feel like we have a bunch of guys that probably won't get dealt or moved at all until afterwards. There's too much potential downside, I guess, with the injuries, the age, and I don't think you're going to get any of these guys on the cheap either.
Oh my goodness. And what's going on with Cam? Why is Cam still available?
I mean, he's not that young Cam Newton up before. He is. He had a little fallout in New England, whatever happened there. He didn't light it up in Carolina. And I know you can, Panthers fan, you can talk about it. He didn't wow everybody to be part of this carousel of quarterbacks. There's still some good quarterbacks out there that are younger and can be as talented, if not more, than Cam Newton. I just think that he's going to have to wait until after the draft, which a lot of these players are going to have to wait to see how the draft falls before they find themselves a home.
I really think I think Cam Newton's getting it back in Carolina. Then that looks the way it's trending with some of the insiders for Carolina. But Jimmy G still being in old minor 49er land. Nate, are they just going to roll with Jimmy G as a backup to Trey Lance? That's an expensive backup. That's $27 million for a backup.
Nobody wants to take on any of these guys' contracts. they all stink, and they're all for the most part guaranteed. He's in the same spot as Baker. Like, a team's going to have to come out of the draft feeling terrible, like they're completely hopeless, or or it's going to turn into those wait until week 2, week 3, somebody gets hurt, the backup can't do it, and there's your shot. But I feel like the teams that need the quarterbacks are all in kind of low in terms of resources, right? Like the Seahawks just got a couple of picks back getting rid of Russ, but it seems like they're going to go with Locke. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea of someone landing there, but I don't think Jimmy goes there, right? Yeah, that's a lot of money to pay backup. Okay, there you go. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to pay for him. I don't know who's going to take that contract.
Cowhead in chat, who's a Niners fan, is saying that the Niners only have to pay Jimmy G $7.5 million to kick rocks, so they're not on the hook for that much money. They can potentially get rid of him.
Kick rocks.
Kick rocks. Hey, take your $7.5 million and go sit on your couch. Darn.
Could have $19 million as a backup.
Hey, you shut your mouth. Ant wrote down we want to talk about Baker Mayfield. You kind of touched on it, and I think Nate brought up a good point, is that no one wants to pay these salaries. And Baker Mayfield has the exact same, not exact same, but the same amount owed for his 5th-year options, fully guaranteed, came out of the same draft class as Sam Darnold. So he's got that $19 million sitting there that's guaranteed. I feel like, and Ant, correct me if you disagree, I feel like the Browns are not going to get many trade options for him, mainly because they know the Browns don't need Baker anymore. So people are like, whatever, just hold on to him. It's your problem now. And I think a lot of teams are like, well, they're probably just going to cut him at this point. So why give up draft capital and take on that salary when we can just get him after they cut him?
So, and that's the thing I was thinking about the last few days, especially when the Browns was in limbo with if they're going to get Deshaun Watson or not. There's another team that was in limbo, and then they got rid of their quarterback, Atlanta. Mm-hmm. But I think the Browns might be doing a different route. They might hold on to Baker because we still don't know if the league is going to suspend Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. He's clear of the criminal cases. He's not being tried, but that we have not heard from Roger Goodell, and the league is known for just throwing a suspension like hey, he's gonna be suspended for 6 games or he's gonna be suspended for a year. And at that point, you're either gonna go with Jacoby Brissett, or you can technically hold on to Baker. He's under contract once again. He's under contract, so regardless of how much he said goodbye on Twitter, he wrote the letter to everybody. I have a lot of Browns fans on Twitter, and they just want him gone. My thing is, do you hold on to him? Because if Watson is suspended for a whole year, with all that talent that you just picked up and you still have, Baker is the best option after that if Watson is not there to keep it going.
Yeah.
That's just...
I don't know. I just don't see Baker playing for the Browns after all this went down. I think if anything, if they don't sit him even behind Jacoby Brissett, he's holding out, right? Like I don't think he's going back to Cleveland. He's already back here in Austin, and he's ready to hang out in Lakeway over by the lake and not do anything while he collects his money.
Hold on to him. You know how the injuries happen in training camp. You know the stuff that happens. You just need to have somebody need a quarterback before the trade deadline. Yeah. All the stuff that Baker Mayfield is going to say going forward, to saying get rid of me, man, hold on to him until like the cards are back in your hand. Because like you said, now everybody's saying, hey, I don't need to give you all this stuff because you don't want them. Let one of those quarterbacks get injured. Now the tide can turn. Maybe Cleveland can get some more capital back. Because look at the Texans. The Texans held on to Watson, and they held their stance to the point that they got what they want. They got draft picks. They got capital.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Seahawks are quarterback needy. I know the Panthers are saying they're not interested, but they need a quarterback. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But then also we're talking about the AFC West, which has no shortage of quarterbacks. Yeah, Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I'm like, I see all that, and I look at Baker. I'm like, Seattle, be free.
Bro, just get out of the AFC, Baker. Just go to the NFC.
Get out of the. And you know, for that reason, right? Think about that. How stacked the AFC is. If you're an NFC team who's quarterback needy, and if there's a way to do it, I don't know. You'd have to have like some sort of like agreement to be able to talk with him before a deal gets negotiated. But something's gonna have to happen about the money.
Oh
But if you're
yeah.
an NFC team, like this is the greatest opportunity. It's
Mhm.
just all you have to do is get through Tom Brady in the championship game, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is open season now.
Yeah, I think, and I'm glad you brought up Tom Brady because I know we got the AFC West, but listen, they're toughest division. Every team in the AFC West not only has a quarterback, they have a dynamic duo in their defensive line at this point. It is a sack machine division, but you have to think Tom Brady retires, and then. Which, by the way, sir, Tom Brady, I need you to apologize to us here at the regular season because we gave you like a 45-minute send-off, sir. We gave you a special.
Damn you. Damn you.
But then Russell Wilson goes to the Broncos, and I think Tom Brady just kind of looked at the state of the quarterbacks in the NFC South with what's going on in New Orleans and Carolina and Atlanta at this point, and he's like, all right. I mean, I can take this division. Let's go. And he looks at the rest of the NFC, and he's like, yeah, we got this. We're going to the Super Bowl again.
I didn't think I was going to hate Brady as much now, because now I hate him, and he's smart. Because that division, besides him, the next best quarterback is the MVP in Jameis.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the Falcons. They got Rosen and Mariota. And then who's the other one in that division?
Oh, Sam Darnold?
Okay, and we continue. So, yeah, it's a 19 million.
Yeah, anybody here seen Encanto on Disney Plus?
Oh, it's so good. What a fantastic film.
Yeah, we don't talk about Darnold. We don't. We don't talk about Darnold. We're not doing it. Yeah, I'm excited to see how the AFC West comes out. And what's wild is that with 3 wild card spots, there's a real possibility that all 4 teams in the AFC West could be in the playoffs, which is absolutely insane. But I mean, God, but let's talk about these biggest moves. Not necessarily a free agent signing, but one of the bigger moves of the free agency season. Devontae Adams up and peacing out at a cold ass Green Bay, reuniting with his college quarterback Derek Carr in Las Vegas. The Raiders give up this year's first and this year's second to Devontae Adams. He gets 5 years, $142 million. Green Bay didn't want to counter the offer. And everything that's going on with Aaron Rodgers. I think Devontae Adams makes out like a king in this one, but also Green Bay deciding not to counter the offer. Nate, that is some wild stuff, but this got to look good for the Raiders no matter what, even though you gave up a 1 and a 2.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying a high price, but to the best of my knowledge, from everything that I've seen, it seems like Devontae Adams wanted to be there, and I have nothing but respect for players. You know, obviously it's hard to get into the shoes of what it's like to be a professional athlete if you're not doing that, but everybody has teams they love growing up before they make it to pro, right? And if his dream was to finish his career on the Raiders, whether or not it's some crazy story he made up just to get away from all of that, I don't know, but I'm happy for him. Hopefully he can bring some extra needed pep to that team and they can turn things around in 2022.
Yeah. I mean, and besides the Raiders signing Chandler Jones, which was also huge, 3 years, $51 million, shoring up their defensive line across from Crosby, really giving them 2 studs on the defensive line. I feel like Devontae Adams puts them over that bar that they had last season that they seemed they couldn't get over. Like, this makes them a contender because now Derek Carr finally has a true number 1.
Oh, that bar. So they got over it. Unfortunately, on the other side of the bar is another bar because AFC West loaded up. in the division. The Broncos went and got their quarterback in Russell Wilson. Patrick Mahomes got another weapon in Juju. And you look at the Chargers, who is personally my favorite to come out of the division, and we're going to talk about it later, not only added the best corner, but it also added Khalil Mack. And now you pair Khalil Mack with Joey Bosa, and now it looks like, yes, the Raiders did get the best receiver, but now it looks like it's a wash because everybody else upgraded in that division. Like, somebody has to lose. Somebody's going to be 8-8. Somebody's going to be 6-10 in that division, and I just don't know. I think the Raiders might be the 6-10 team.
But here's the thing: is they don't necessarily have to. You imagine every team in the division could split their series with their division opponents and just go out and slaughter everyone else that they play. And if they do that, they're all 3-3 in their division. They'll do a tiebreaker to figure out who wins the division. But every team in that division could end up with 10, 11, 12 plus wins, which is absolutely insane. And Nate, what are your thoughts on Devontae too? I mean, Devontae as the turning point for the Raiders.
Well, there's two big parts about it, right? Because obviously he's played through a lot of the best years of his career. I think he still has definitely a few more in him, but it's two big keys to the locker room situation, right? You have the young players making bad decisions. We never want these things to happen, but if we foster an environment of responsibility and accountability, maybe that's something that Devontae Adams can bring to the table. Maybe one of the reasons why he even wanted to go there in the first place was so he could try to be a better influence to young guns coming into the league and stop some kids from making bad choices. And he wants to be that leader figure. As far as the team itself goes, Derek Carr's got to be so happy. I mean, he's a guy that's been busting his butt. I think his stats were fantastic last year. They just quietly took quite a few games that we were talking about. We'd picking the other guys. They had some good upset matches. So I think it gives them that potential oomph they need. We'll see with the draft and all that. But especially if you can improve the culture there a little bit and avoid some of the PR disasters that you run into in this last year and really just focus on the game and have everybody on the same page, could turn into a big win on and off the field.
Yeah. Be good to have that veteran leadership. But also, I mean, Josh McDaniels been around in the NFL for a while, so having him as a head coach probably helps out a little bit. But let's keep it in the AFC West and talk about the Denver Broncos literally breaking the bank to get Russell Wilson out of the cesspool that Seattle had become, giving up Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 5th for Russell Wilson and a 4th. And it feels like Denver has been treading water with talent surrounding this team, except for a quarterback since Peyton Manning left. Is this all they needed to make that next leap back to being a Super Bowl contender?
We're gonna find out because you were linked to Aaron Rodgers. They were linked to big quarterbacks this whole offseason. They always felt like they were a quarterback away to doing something really significant in that division. And now we're gonna find out because Russell Wilson is everything that you want in a quarterback. And he is definitely a franchise quarterback. They have a defense behind him that's going to include Randy Gregory. They have oh my God, the other guy on the other end, and it's gonna bother me. They got 2 bookend defensive ends. They got young corners. This can be a problem. The only issue I have is the division. So they're definitely gonna be better than last season, but it all depends on how everything else falls.
You telling me Russell Wilson's better than Teddy Bridgewater?
Yeah,
maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater's in Miami now.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Darius used our talk about Tua as the clip to promote tonight's thing, and I just want to remind you that you're not sold on Tua still.
Give it some time. we're just gonna give it some time. That's the bad. I got some good news about it.
Yeah, but Ant brings up a good point, Nate, and I want to talk about Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory agreed to what, a 5-year, $70 million deal with the Cowboys, and then at the last minute flipped and signed the same deal with Denver because Dallas added an extra term to his contract that apparently is standard on contracts for all of their players. And Randy Gregory was like, nah, dog, I'm good. I'm going to Denver. Is this a sign of Randy Gregory just changing his mind so he can go play with Russell Wilson and be on a contender? Or is there problems in the Dallas front office that should probably be addressed after this?
It's got to be a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be a little bit of both. Obviously, Russ going to the Broncos when you've got, they definitely have a lot of things going well for them. Like a quarterback was certainly the biggest piece that Denver was missing this last couple seasons, and I think they have enough to make a threat. So I can see why you'd want to be there. And on the other side, I love taking my chances to take shots at the Cowboys. It seems like another fantastic mismanagement. Mr. Jones, all that situation. I don't know how you manage to throw so much money at so many different players and re-sign people for big contracts and still just consistently not deliver. But that's what the Cowboys do. Getting off that ship, I think, is just a generally good play by that man.
Yeah.
That team needs a leadership revamp, top to bottom.
I mean, I also saw
very top.
I saw a meme about the Cowboys, and it just said Dak Prescott's just a black Kirk Cousins.
He's starting to look like that.
He's got the numbers. He's got the stats right. He just can't win.
He's got the money. He's gonna get it everywhere he goes.
Yeah. That team can't put it together. No matter how good that roster looks. You look at the top, like the best. If you're like looking at the best stats, like what's your dream expectation out of performance for a guy like Dak Prescott? His ceiling seems really high. When he has a great game, he looks fantastic. And they got Lamb. And you got Zeke, and you got Pollard, and there's a great offensive line that's all of it's now getting picked apart because everybody's going to come to the same realization. You have supposedly everything you could possibly need to have a good team, except you're not winning.
And then letting Amari Cooper go to the Browns. Listen, Amari Cooper wasn't bad in Dallas because Amari Cooper is bad. Amari Cooper's still a number one receiver. Like, let's not forget that. Amari Cooper is I'd argue to say a top 10 receiver. I was hoping we'd get him. Yeah.
I was hoping we would take him.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, same. I mean, and we have DJ Moore. Inked him to an extension. Happy. But I think that's great for Amari's career right now. He's got Deshaun Watson throwing the ball.
Can I say something about the Cowboys? Because
this is the Rib the Cowboys segment.
I love to get a swift kick in, and Nate started it. Wouldn't it be great if the NFL could do a rule where you don't have to be a division winner? Like, let's say the NFC East is so terrible that we don't have to give them a playoff berth. We can give it to somebody else. Because that's how bad the division is. I'm sorry, and it's led by the Cowboys. Like you see the direction of Jerry Jones, and we don't know what that is. Mike McCarthy, he's a puppet. But let's just realize, like, Randy Gregory left the Cowboys after all they did for him because he even knew that he cannot win in that city. Let's just be honest, like.
I mean, that's what the Cowboys have always been. It's been they're going to hire a coach that will do Jerry Jones's bidding. Because look, the last time they had a highly successful head coach, they let him go after a Super Bowl win in Jimmy Johnson, who arguably one of the greatest head coaches to coach in the NFL. And he built that team up. He orchestrated one of the greatest trades in history. But the minute he stopped doing Jerry Jones's bidding, Jerry Jones fired him. And since then, Jerry Jones has had nothing but puppets in Dallas. You're right. It's nothing but puppets.
Yeah.
He had Bill Parcells, and that didn't work out either.
Well, it didn't work out because Bill wasn't willing to be a puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needs somebody weak, moldable,
Yeah. But talking about people who aren't weak, Von Miller signs a 6-year, $120 million deal with the Buffalo Bills.
Okay, look, if he plays great, then it's like, wow, okay, we picked up a great dude that's going to be fantastic. But does anybody expect him to finish this contract?
No,
Or
absolutely not.
Was
He's
this
gonna play
done
2
like
years or
this
retire.
purely? I was going to say this was all done purely for cap space, right?
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like the Bills needed defensive line help, right? The Bills needed help in the running back category, and they needed a couple of receivers, and now they got Jamison Crowder and and a couple others, and they're gonna be fine. This just seems like hey, we know we're already good on defense, but remember those 13 seconds? Let's not make those happen. Let those happen again. That just seems like this addressed that 13-second drive from the Chiefs in the playoffs.
If I'm the Bills, I'm mad. I'm really upset because you use the majority of your cap to go after a 33-year-old like DN for 6 years, knowing that everybody knows he is not going to stay on that contract. Like he's going to get released after year 2. So what?
We'll see.
I don't get it, but that's fine.
I mean, if we're being honest, don't forget, like, even last year, he still had 9.5 sacks. He is still absolutely killing it and being a disruptive pass rusher. And I think where this actually works in is the Bills let go of Star Lotulelei, which I get it, he's a defensive tackle, but having a Von Miller there to help stop the run now that Star's gone, I think helps. Right? Because Star Lotulelei is known for he's never going to get a sack, right? I think he's had like 9 his entire career. He's a run stopper. And now you got Vaughn, who has been able to play the entire defensive line, though obviously he's an edge rusher and that's where he excels. But, I mean, now you got a versatile defensive line, especially with Star and Vernon Butler gone. So, I mean, I like the signing. I don't see him playing it all out. I think he retires in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's now the Bills division for sure because the Patriots, I would argue, probably had one of the worst free agencies in the league. What did they do of note? Hold on, I got to scroll up to find the New England Patriots ranking on CBS Sports. But they didn't do anything of note. Like, I can't tell you anything. Like, I could tell you, like, Washington had a good offseason in Carson Wentz and getting Andrew Norwell and re-signing McKissick and Bobby McCain. Like, I know that off the top of my head, not because I'm a Ron Rivera fan or anything. But it's like, okay, the Patriots got Mac Wilson and Terrence Mitchell. Like, those were their key additions. And then, like, they focused their re-signings on Brian Hoyer, a 483-year-old backup, and James White, a serviceable running back. I don't think anyone else was truly targeting James White, right? Like, he was going back to the Patriots or he wasn't really going anywhere. But hey, it's their division. But let's talk about the Super Bowl runner-ups, the Cincinnati Bengals. Nate, we talked about this after the Super Bowl. If the Bengals are going to do anything this free agency, they have to sign offensive linemen. And guess what they did? They went out and signed 3 of the top 10 offensive linemen that were available in free agency. They got La'el Collins coming out of, offensive tackle coming out of Dallas, who also left. They got Ted Karras, one of the better centers in the league from New England. And then they got Alex Kappa, arguably a top 3 offensive guard out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you're Joe Burrow, Nate, what's going through your mind right now?
Well, okay, you've got what you need, right? This is you've got a situation where the team has made some improvements in key areas. I don't think the offense itself really needed a whole ton of improvement outside of the offensive line. Give that guy time to throw the ball. He places it perfectly. He's got a cannon for an arm. I like Joe Burrow. The AFC is going to be crazy competitive, and in order for that prophecy to come true, this is going to have to set him up well. So I'm just going to assume that it will.
No. And then on top of the offensive linemen, they let CJ go to the Jets, which we'll get into because I know Nate wants to talk about the Jets. And they signed Hayden Hurst, who was promising in Baltimore, Didn't really do much in the Falcons. So now he's got a big tight end to throw to who is a reliable tight end. If you're Joe Burrow and you're Zach Taylor, the head coach, you have to feel good about your chance of going back to the Super Bowl.
And in my opinion, this team, the Bengals, won free agency because it wasn't flashy. It was what you needed. And you needed to protect Joe Burrow. They made it to the Super Bowl. Dynamic offense. Great defense. He was just getting sacked way too many times. You get your left side of your offensive line. You literally just got your left tackle, your left guard, and your center. You go in the draft now with the 31st pick, get another lineman, and you really will have a lineman. You will have an offensive line for the next 4 or 5 years until you decide to re-up Joe Burrow's contract. I love every single pickup from Cincinnati. They were smart. They didn't go after the flashy names. They just targeted what they need, which was fat people.
Yeah.
So it was this is perfect.
What did Dave Gettleman used to call them? Hog mollies. They got a bunch of hog mollies.
Yeah.
Lel Collins, that is a hog. That is a big man.
Good job, Dallas.
I can't even call him a big boy. He is a big man. He will eat. He will eat someone. Let's keep it in Ohio. Talk about the Cleveland Browns. Obviously pulling off one of the biggest trades we've seen in our lifetime. The Browns get Deshaun Watson while sending 3 firsts. So that's first this year, next year, and the following year. A 3rd and 2 fourths for Deshaun Watson and a 6th. Deshaun Watson obviously gets 5 years, $230 million guaranteed, fully guaranteed. He's getting $230 million. Apparently in the reporting structure of this that was coming out, obviously it was down to the Browns, the Falcons, the Saints, and the Panthers. And it looked like the Panthers were leading the flock to land Deshaun Watson. But ultimately this came out to be a free agent deal is what it was. Because everyone submitted their trades to the Texans, and the Texans had to say yes to that trade for them to be able to meet with Deshaun Watson and really start working on stuff. And apparently the Panthers did not want to guarantee the 4th and 5th year of a 5-year contract. They didn't want to guarantee it, which I get. They just guaranteed a 5th year of a contract and got burned. I get it. I get why they didn't want to do it, right? Yeah, I see that face. The Falcons were a late player because Deshaun's from Georgia. That's his hometown team. He'd be going home. And then the Saints were in it because they had the most weapons, right? Like you have Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, a solid offensive line, a good defense. Like this would have been the best place to go. But then it came down to that fully guaranteed contract from the Browns. And he waived his no trade clause to the Browns, and here you go. Now, okay, it's the Browns, Nate. The Browns have had chance after chance to be successful. And we really all thought that they were going to turn the page with Baker. And I feel like they did, right? Made the playoffs for the first time and had the longest playoff drought in the history. But Deshaun might not play this season because he still does have 22 civil lawsuits facing him. And 2, it's the Browns. How much does this do for the Browns? Are they a contender now because of this? Or is this just, hey, we have a flashy quarterback and nothing's ever going to happen with it?
Do we know that he can play football? Maybe after time off. But the ramifications of the way that this is all publicly unfolded and how eager they were to hand everything on a silver platter to somebody that has 22 cases open, and the way that the communication went between them and Baker, it seemed, and all of that, you tarnish the fan base. People. I am a fan of a bad team, and the best part about being a fan of a bad team is when you get those moments that give you hope. And you look forward to something and you're excited about it and you're like, maybe this is where things turn around. If you're a Browns fan, that was you the last 2 years, last 2-3 years. You were like, you saw Baker go in halftime against the Jets, come out, whoop his ass. You get your first win in 2 seasons. You get your first playoff win in what, 10, 20 years, whatever it ended up being. And guy goes out, plays hurt, makes it worse, gets a terrible injury on an interception. And the rest of the season, he still plays for whatever reason. Plays hurt, and he ends up looking bad as a result. I wasn't ready to push him into the dustbin. And I'm not sure that everybody in Cleveland was. I don't know what that fan
Cleveland
sentiment
loved him.
there is.
Like, all my friends that are from Cleveland love Baker Mayfield.
And my friends from Cleveland love Baker Mayfield as well. And my friends from Cleveland also don't like Deshaun Watson. You know, this isn't some big flashy town where people just go make bad decisions constantly and feel like they're untouchable because they're in some big hotshot market where they're getting paid millions of dollars to go do whatever they want. You know, you think about Ohio, you think about Cleveland, you think about a place where families live, where people who, these kinds of issues may hit closer to home on, right? You wouldn't, you don't want to see that kind of culture permeate your city or anywhere that you live. So I don't know if he's going to be good or not. I'm sure he'll get suspended because, of course, like the NFL, they're going to wait until somebody's actually ready to play him before they do something to punish him. And I guess that's reasonable, right? Then if you suspended him last year, he wasn't going to play anyway. So, it's a sad day. I think it's sad. I think it's a sad time for Browns fans. It's going to be like a weird period of getting used to it. But that the ownership prioritizes whatever they think is best over everything else too. So it makes me strongly question the upper management, the ownership of the organization, and how much they don't seem to care about all the negative connotations associated with what they've done.
Yeah, it's a wild situation because, right, like we've already talked about, like, he still has these civil suits, and there's a really good article that came out from one of the Panthers coverage websites. And it was thoughts on the Deshaun Watson trade from female Carolina Panthers fans. And they interviewed like a dozen women. And all of them were genuinely upset that the Panthers would target a player with, even though, hey, criminal charges are out. He still has 22 women that are saying this. I mean, how bad of a look is this for Cleveland? And I mean, obviously we're all dudes here, right? Like, we're all guys, so we can't speak to how a woman feels. But as a Cleveland fan, if you're a woman, you can't be happy with this.
No, you're not. You shouldn't be. There's you shouldn't be at all. I'm just talking about what is on paper and why Deshaun went back to Cleveland. If I'm a Cleveland fan, I would be unsettled right now because we just picked up somebody who had 24, 25 of these cases of on them. It's kind of like, when Pittsburgh brought back Big Ben after his allegations. I hate to say this, and it's so bad, but winning forgets everything. We hear this a lot in sports, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't at all. It's very unfortunate. Somebody was going to pick him up as soon as they heard that he was getting cleared, and unfortunately, it's Cleveland. The only thing that I can really talk about is what's on paper. And out of the 4 teams that were going for his services, no offense with Carolina, I wouldn't want to give up those draft picks because you're not at that level yet, and those picks could be valuable.
Yep.
Nothing against y'all. You still have Sam Darnold. Nothing against y'all. Let's talk about the Saints. The Saints were over the cap by $70 million. You just lost Taryn Armstead. You lost Drew Brees. You lost your coach. Michael Thomas is coming back from an injury that's kind of concerned. And Alvin Kamara, you get close to that age of 30, it's not looking good. And then let's go over to Atlanta real quick. Atlanta just has somebody who gambled $1,500 and lost $10 million in a season in Calvin Ridley. and there's no other weapons around it. So now you go to Cleveland. And like I said, I'm not condoning anything. I just want to state the facts right now. You got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt on
now Amari Cooper and Akeem Grant too.
Akeem Grant, Amari Cooper. You got David Njoku. You have Jarek Willis. He was a first-round draft pick a year ago. Your offensive line is one of the best in the league. You still got Myles Garrett on the team. You still have Daryl Ward. You have pieces to go after a championship. So it's tough. I'm glad. I'm pretty sure all three of us is glad that he didn't go to our team because we would have to talk about it. But it's going to be interesting. I do want to hear from Cleveland fans about how would you feel if y'all start 10-0, 12-0. He takes y'all to the playoffs. He gets y'all out of the proverbial funk. And what do you feel?
At what cost?
It's at what cost? I'm not condoning. I just want to say I'm not condoning it.
You're not wrong though.
We've seen it so much in the past, Nate. We have.
You're not wrong. If there's anything that history teaches us, it's that almost no limit to how evil deed people do that they can get away with if people like them enough, or they're winning sports games or making music, whatever it is, and that's a tragedy. And it's also a whole different weird bag of things, right? Because we don't have resolutions or judgments on any of these cases. I don't know what kind of evidence is going to come out or still hasn't or whatever, right? So whatever the league decides to do, you're not wrong though. A whole bunch of people will happily go bandwagon over. We there's a wide mix of people who are sports fans, and they'll see that super team getting stacked up. They won't care. They'll be like, if he didn't get convicted, then he didn't do it. So lots of people will flock behind him. The team will still have fans, especially if they win a lot. But I think there'll be a pretty good amount of the long-term fans of the team that will be turned away by this, though.
Yeah. God, I just hope he goes 0-2 against Pittsburgh and Mitch Trubisky. God, I just hope so. We do have a Browns fan in chat. It said lifelong Browns fan until last Friday. There's no number of games this team can win that would make me do anything except despise them.
He's a good friend of mine, and I think he just got a Justin Herbert jersey. So.
Oh, beautiful! Hey, welcome to the bandwagon. I got a Joe Burrow jersey in the closet, just waiting, just waiting for when Carolina's trash again. Speaking of trash, the Jacksonville Jaguars signed Christian Kirk to a 4-year, $72 million contract with a max value of $84 million. A steal for a receiver who's never topped 900 yards, who at best is a bargain value Steve Smith. At best, bargain value. He is great value Steve Smith. Hasn't done anything in his career. I mean, Jacksonville, again, going crazy with spending this offseason. Hasn't done anything with it. And what do you got to say about this? You're in Florida.
First of all, there's nothing wrong with great value. Let me just, before we go on, as a person in the college program at Disney, when you shop at Walmart, great value stuff is fantastic.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Why you need Fruit Loops when you can have colorings? Why? You don't. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, would I give Christian Kirk this money? No. But it's one of those things where the Jaguars is not a good place to go to right now. So anybody who's interested, you got to throw them a contract. You got to throw them the bag, and then you just got to carry on because nobody else was coming there. So get Trevor Lawrence to number one, and boom.
Yeah. I mean, they do have Travis Etienne coming back, but this has Trent Baalke written all over it. Nate, is this why every Jaguars fan wanted Trent Baalke, the GM, to be fired so they could hire Brian Leftwich?
Throwing big money at a player that you think can be good when you're still in the rebuilding phase, you don't have a head coach that you trust to be the guy that's going to carry your team forward. There's this other team I'm reminded of. They paid a couple of dudes. I don't even think he played in the NFL a year after his contract was over. Tremaine Johnson, he just gone poof of smoke, got his payday, he's gone. There are people who see these teams, they know how desperate they are, and they're like, look, I'll come help you out, but you're going to have to pay up, of course. You're not a good franchise. Then they get their payday. Maybe they slack off. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just lose a step or two. Like Le'Veon Bell, right? But they get their money. The team ends up kind of treading water, not really going anywhere. Culture doesn't really change, and they'll be, I'm sure, regretting that they have that contract maybe next year, unless it turns into something huge with him and Lawrence, right? If having him on the team enables Lawrence to reach his potential and they start crushing it, then it'll be seen as one of the greatest choices, right? So.
Yeah, but hey, at least Le'Veon Bell has a rap career to fall back on.
Have you heard it? Have either of you heard any of his music? Okay, yeah. I'm glad I'm not alone in this. Oh man, I'm just gonna say it because I was gonna say it's not good, guys. Don't listen to it. don't give it a listen. Okay, man. I had so much hopium. I was like, I love Bell. Hopium. He's coming in. He's bringing the culture. Where they're gonna turn things around, and then all of a sudden Gase comes in. All of a sudden that, and I'm like, no. And then I listened to his rap music. I tried to connect with the human. I failed.
I failed. Oh man. Hey, speaking of the Jets, snagged yourself a tight end, giving Zach Wilson
2.
All right, so let's talk about the Jets. I think to me, the New York Jets' biggest signing is, well, one, they re-signed Braxton Berrios, which is a key part of that team.
He gave them a very good deal. As well. So they wanted to stay on the team and not make things harder.
Yeah, and then also snagging Laken Tomlinson, a guard, to help protect Zach Wilson from almost dying again this season like he did last season. But getting CJ Uzomah to come to New York and give a big, reliable body for Zach Wilson to throw the ball to. Nate's just happy. Look at that smile on his face.
Happier. They can't be happier. Like there are two things about the offense that I would say that were my least favorite things last year. It wasn't the wide receiver core. It was Greg Van Roten, who's absolutely horrible guard he's not played an NFL caliber, should not be a starting NFL guard anywhere. I'm sure like Elfline, he'll find his way somewhere to another job. But the Tomlinson pickup was huge. Just having him there, I think with Elijah Vera Tucker, if Becton comes back and he can stay healthy, this offensive line is going to be awesome. But our tight ends the last couple of seasons would not have been a starter, would not even been a tight end 2, our tight end number 1, wouldn't even been second on any roster the last 2 or 3 years. Chris Herndon looked okay rookie season, got into a DUI, got hurt, got shipped off. Had no performance when he finally came back. I don't even want to talk about Ryan Griffin or Trevon Wesco. I hope I never have to talk about them ever again. But it's CJ. They got CJ Uzomah and Ty Conklin. So that makes me really happy. You have 2 big guys who can catch the ball in traffic, who can block, and have a lot of good starting NFL experience. Zach Wilson needs a safety blanket pick to throw to, and that it can't just be Elijah Moore every single play.
Yeah, especially with Crowder gone. You had to get someone else that can catch the ball there. I like the Jets. Just going off of what I'm reading on CBS Sports, the Jets have the 7th ranked free agency. They addressed their needs and they did it well. And I agree.
These are all positions of need, all quality players. I'm not going to pretend it changes everything, but Jordan Whitehead has really good tape on run stop. So he'll be a nice upgrade.
Got DJ Reed too.
DJ Reed looks fantastic. He's getting paid. For me, I'm like, I hope he plays as well as that contract looks, and then I'll be happy.
You re-signed Joe Flacco. You got to be excited about that.
And Mike White. Mike White signed his tender today. He's staying. He's staying number 3 spot.
Money Mike.
I'm just happy about this because I think this means we can go hunting after wide receivers in the draft now.
Yeah.
Now I don't feel like we have that same amount of pressure. Our offense, frankly speaking, should be competent, mostly depending on Zach Wilson now.
Yeah. Don't you have 2 first-round picks this season?
Yeah, we have number 4 and number 10.
Oh, perfect. Great. Yeah. I swear to God, if y'all are going to take a tackle right before Carolina needs to get one. We already talked
I don't think this season. You're good. You're safe.
Yeah. We already talked about the Chargers signing J.C. Jackson and trading for Khalil Mack. That obviously is I'm ranking the Chargers as my top free agency. I feel like they addressed every need that they had coming out of the playoffs or coming out of the season last year. But let's talk about it one of the bigger wide receivers that everyone's wondering where he's going to go, Juju Smith-Schuster, signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, for the longest time, it feels like Pat Mahomes has had Kelsey and Hill to throw the ball to, and then a plethora of other people, right? It's kind of like what Tom Brady's always had. He's had a tight end and a slot receiver or a speedster, and then everyone else, right? And now it feels like Pat Mahomes finally has what we would consider a true number one receiver on his team. And Ant, how much does this help Pat Mahomes in getting Juju?
I think he's a better upgrade over Sammy Watkins, who was that third option for them after Hill and Kelsey. I think this is a really good play, a really good fit for Juju, and this is a bigger target to go opposite of Kelsey, and then you can have Tyreek Hill play that slot demon, and it's just like, the rich get richer, and this is what they did. They have to get firepower for this division. I love it. Very quiet pickup, but this is a good one.
It's great. Speaking of quiet, we'll talk about the Panthers real quick. The Panthers coming into this offseason needed to beef up the offensive line. They needed to sign a safety to start opposite of Jeremy Chin. They needed to sign a cornerback to start opposite of C.J. Henderson. And they needed a punter. So what did they do? They went out and signed Austin Corbett of the Super Bowl Rams, the guard. They signed Bradley Bozeman, who is one of the top-ranked centers in the league from Baltimore. They signed Xavier Woods from the Vikings as a safety. They re-signed Dante Jackson to a very good 3-year, $31 million deal. And they get Mr. Reliable in the punting squad, Johnny Hecker, from the Rams as well. So Carolina, again, being quiet, while also, they extended DJ Moore. And then while we were on this podcast, they restructured Christian McCaffrey's contract and freed up even more space. So now Carolina has $31 million of cap space, and I still don't know what they're going to do with it. Another team staying quiet, Steelers. Right? Like we talked about it all season. They need to figure out what they're going to do in quarterback, so they go out and sign Trubisky. And then their offensive line was a question, so they signed James Daniels, a guard, and they signed Mason Cole, a center. And then their linebacking core needed a leader, so they go and get Miles Jack. Pittsburgh just upgraded.
Well, I don't think they're done with quarterback. I'm going to be completely honest.
No, I think they're going to draft one.
I think that's Baker.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's Baker's team right there. I think that's a good fit. He can get his revenge on Cleveland. I think, and once again, I don't think Cleveland would trade him to that, but I think if it comes down to it, if the price is right, that'd be a good spot for Baker. I like Miles Jack. I like that pick. I really love that pickup because I kind of wanted him from Miami. You already have Watt over there as well, and the Steelers are known for a defense, but I don't think they're done with quarterback. I really don't believe you're going to go into the season with Trubisky. Why would you do that?
Why not? He played on a terrible Bears team. You can't really fault him for what happened there.
But he was terrible.
Well, you would be too if you were throwing to nobody.
He's terrible.
Okay, well.
You want him in Carolina?
Nope. We got Sam Darnold. What are you talking about? Nate, I think one of the teams we talked about a lot last season is the Tennessee Titans. About how nothing's ever going to happen if they don't fix a couple key positions. Now, obviously, they didn't address the quarterback position, but they did trade for Robert Woods after LA signed Allen Robinson, and they signed Austin Hooper, another reliable tight end, and then they gave more protection to Tannehill, getting Jamarco Jones a tackle. I feel like this is all in the right direction to help Tannehill and crew succeed and continue to win that division. What do you think?
Can I say something crazy?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. The Titans, to me, are a good team. I think their greatest strength is probably their coaching and Derrick Henry. And I think these moves are good. I know some people in the Jets team were all talking about Robert Woods, and he looks good. 31, can be a good asset, having another target to get to. I think Hooper is good there. But this team lives or dies on their run game for me. I don't see any amount of changes turning Tannehill into like a gunslinger superstar. It's all about maintaining that balance. So I don't expect him to play tremendously better. I think that in some of the fringe scenarios, like if Derek's out, if he gets hurt for a little bit, or on the drives when they're trying to mix it up, if they're trying to game plan around preventing him from getting hurt as much, giving better options to receive, I think is just always going to be helpful. But I'm not saying like Tannehill's going to be throwing for 1,500 to Robert Woods this year. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, but I mean, I do like the fact that, I mean, if AJ Brown can stay healthy, you now have AJ Brown and Robert Woods. That is a solid receiving duo. And it obviously didn't work out with Julio, but Julio was injured for a lot of the season. Julio was playing pretty much a big mentor role there. They had a couple breakout receivers, but I feel like this gives them a true number 1 and number 2 receiver on a team that desperately needed a number 2 to step up and stay healthy.
I mean, the way I see Tennessee is like Nate said, is coaching, defense, and Derrick Henry. So when you have such a dynamic running back, it's kind of hard for any elite receiver to go to Tennessee because you're not going to get the touches because you need to give it to Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. So even if, Robert Woods, who is coming off an ACL injury, which is always going to be iffy, are you going to get enough touches? Because Tennessee is the type of team that needs bigger receivers on the outside because they need to block as well for Derrick Henry. That's why, you got AJ Brown. You had the other one. These are 6'2", 6'3" receivers who can shield off the corners and then go up and get those tough first downs when it's like 3rd and 2. The identity for the Titans is to run, then play action, throw it over the top. Mm-hmm. Maybe over the top is Robert Woods, but it's kind of tough to be a number 1 in Tennessee just because Derrick Henry is your number 1.
Yeah.
Everything.
I agree. But I think this takes some pressure off of Tannehill. If things go south with the running game, I feel like this helps. Robert Woods and Austin Hooper has been performing at a consistent level, and as a above average tight end in the league his career. So I think the Titans take this division again. Though the next team we're talking about could give them a run for their money this year, with the Colts picking up Matt Ryan in exchange for a single 3rd-round pick. First of all, this is their 5th starting quarterback in 5 years for the Colts. Hopefully, Matt Ryan can ride out into the sunset with the Colts and they can do some damage because they're really a good team. You have one of the better running backs in the league in Jonathan Taylor. You have a solid receiving core. You have a great secondary. But Nate, I feel like Matt Ryan kind of brings this together where Carson Wentz couldn't. I feel like Carson Wentz wasn't a fit for this team. He might be a fit in Washington, but it feels like they want a gunslinger, and Matt Ryan in the twilight of his career can be that for this team.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good pickup for them. The biggest issues with Carson Wentz for me is I always saw him. He was a running quarterback. He was good at scrambling and mixing it up. He could chuck it, but he took a couple of pretty rough hits. And he was not the same after that, got moved around. And we saw that when he tried to play out of the pocket, things just didn't go so well for him, right? Not having that mobility to rely on certainly didn't help.
Yeah.
So I like Matt Ryan there a lot. I think that's a good place for him to be, to stand still and throw the ball to some receivers. But you guys, what is this? Anyway, I mean, I don't know that there's a better option for them to go for. Mm-hmm. It seems like Baker Mayfield wanted to be there. I don't really
the Colts
understand.
Are like, no, we're good, homie.
I'm like, I don't really. I'm like, I don't really. We haven't really seen him play healthy since he was really good. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Matt Ryan's a fine choice. Yeah. If they want a rental, I guess.
Yeah, he's. Listen, if this means
lightly used,
the Colts pick up, Desmond out of Cincinnati, who are a lot of people are projecting as the 3rd or 4th quarterback coming out behind Corbett. I mean, you could grab Desmond from Cincinnati and let him sit behind Matt Ryan for 2, even 3 years, and learn from someone who has a who has a shot to make the Hall of Fame in Matt Ryan. He has been a consistent top quarterback in the league for how long now, right? So, yeah, I think it's a great pickup. But then on the opposite side, and I feel like 5 minutes after they announced the trade, the Falcons announced that they pick up Marcus Mariota for 2 years, $19 million. Does this just mean the Falcons are committing to a rebuild, or is this, hey, Mariota gets a shot to prove he's a starter in the league again?
I honestly think that all of this happened is because something was leaked out that the Falcons was interested in Watson, and they went all in on Watson. They felt confident. There was a tweet that was leaked by Kyle Pitts, who has the same agent as Deshaun Watson, and he said, oh, Atlanta's about to be crazy. Everybody instantly thought that Watson, which left Cleveland at the time with no deal, was going to go to Atlanta, and the Falcons was all in. And then once he changed their mind, you can't go back to your old girlfriend. You got to get rid of Matt Ryan. So that's why they only got rid of him for a third-round pick. This is a rebuild. This is really a rebuild. It's sad because you don't have Calvin Ridley. You don't have Julio Jones. You just have Pitts, and that's it. Now, for the Colts side, Matt Ryan can push the ball down the field better than Wentz and Phillip Rivers. So this is a better upgrade, and I think leadership as well. This is almost like a perfect fit if Matt Ryan needs to leave Atlanta, because this is something he can still play, and I think he'll do well to help out Taylor.
Yeah, be good to see. I mean, it just means that now the Bucs have an even easier path to the NFC South title, but we'll see how that shakes up. One team I didn't list here I do want to talk about, Buffalo Bills. Obviously, we talked about Von Miller, but some other major signings they did. They got O.J. Howard. So Josh Allen's got another target. They got, Jamison Crowder. Then on the defensive side of the ball, they signed Shaq Lawson, Tim Settle, and Daquan Jones. Daquan filling that role for Star Lotulelei in the run stop. Played a fantastic season for the Panthers on that number 2 defense last season. So the Bills primed to go into a shootout in the AFC Championship game, I think. So we'll see.
Now, can I go back to something real quick? I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
So you know how I'm talking about I'm loving the Miles Jack pickup for the Steelers. I totally forgot that their new defensive coordinator is Brian Flores, and he has something to prove. Between him and Mike Tomlin, they live with a chip on their shoulder. That's scary.
Yeah.
That is completely scary as a coaching staff and what they're going to do. I'm just sorry. I forgot Flores went to Pittsburgh. But
last one we got to talk about right before we started. The Dolphins signed Taryn Armstead to a 5-year, $75 million deal worth up to $87.5 million with $43 million guaranteed. Now, before I let Ant talk about the Dolphins offseason and this signing, I just want to remind everyone that's watching and listening that in 9 seasons, Taryn Armstead has only played 97 games.
Doesn't that mean there's not as much mileage on him?
No, that means he's broken.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Nate. Thank you.
I just wanted to remind everyone, 97 games in 9 seasons. That's less than 11 games a season average for anyone that's not good at math.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Is it my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn. Go ahead.
My turn. Cool. Let's talk about Miami's offseason. I'm going to point out all the key additions. First of all, Taryn Armstead was a bookend left tackle that protected Drew Brees and Jameis. I just want to point that out.
But only
there.
half the season whenever he played because he was always hurt.
I thought this was my time to talk about the Dolphins.
I'm just letting everyone know.
Left tackle is at a premium. You know you pay more for them because they're bookends. Last year, Armstead rated 4th overall in tackles and blocking percentage.
In the 8 games that he played.
4th.
8 games.
In that. That's cool. You know Miami's priority was offense. Mike McDaniels is an offensive mindset. So what did they add to this offseason? Chase Edmonds from the Cardinals. They added Raheem Morstead. That's probably the best one. The one from the 49ers because he got speed. You got Connor Williams, starting left guard for the Dallas Cowboys. Cedric Wilson, a sleeper at receiver for the Cowboys. It was Dak Prescott's favorite target towards the end of the offseason. And then you bring in Teddy Bridgewater, who is he's not going to compete with Tua, but he's going to give them that mentorship that Jacoby Brissett tried to do. We did re-sign Mike Gesicki, which was a really important tight end for us. And then we added more. We re-signed a lot of our key defensive players. Mm-hmm. But the fact is we went after offensive line. We're not done. We got our left tackle. We got our left guard. And now we move Austin Jackson over to the right side, and we figure out the right side. But the fact is we have a tower of a left tackle. I am very excited. So what? He missed those games.
What are you going to do when he gets hurt? What are you going to do when he gets hurt, though?
Nobody looks at what happens if you get hurt. What happens?
But you have no, and I this is a serious question. You have a guy who has been hurt for half of his career. You have to project that he's going to get hurt at some point in the season.
You don't have to project it. You don't have to. That's saying that. Look, he's always going to be that type of person. What's the point of giving him that money? You gotta hope that he goes to Miami. He has a better type of dieting. He has a better facility to train in. Maybe this is something that's going to change. A lot of free agency wouldn't happen if you go off of their injuries and stuff like that. Am I right, Nate? Help me out here. So here's the thing. So he gets hurt.
Nate's in your division. He's hoping your left tackle's not around.
Everybody gets hurt. Adrian Peterson tore his ACL. Came back in 8 months.
You are not going to sit here
out.
and compare Taryn Armstead to Adrian Peterson, a first ballot Hall of Famer.
What I'm trying to tell you is if people didn't believe about Adrian Peterson, after he got hurt, we're not going to sign him. He gets hurt a lot. No, his production. When Armstead is on the field, his production is a top 5 tackle. So he was the number 1 rated free agent. Regardless of how many games that he missed now, number 1. Check CBS. Check ESPN. Number 1 rated free agent. Why? Because his production on this field was the best. Plain and simple. He's the best offensive lineman on the board. We got him for a really decent price because we can get out of the contract after year 3. It doesn't hurt our cap right now, so we can go after another veteran right guard for the league minimum. This is fantastic of a pickup. We took the number 1 free agent off the board, and you know what? On to the playoffs.
Oh, God, I can't wait for him to get hurt after 4 games. Anywho, that brings us to the end of the big signings, but let's talk about it. Who won, who lost free agency? Aaron, you already said you think Cincinnati won it. What other big standouts you got? What are some of the needle movers that really push teams over the edge to be playoff contenders?
I'm going to the AFC West, and I think the Chargers. That's what they did. Mm-hmm. They got a study corner. They got Khalil Mack. They are protecting. They re-signed Mike Williams, which was a key part to the offense. I think the needle mover, where we're talking about teams who are going to be consistently in the playoffs now, the Chargers are one of them. I also want to say kudos to the Denver Broncos because they got the quarterback that they needed without giving up a crazy amount. I sucked. I did like Noah Fant, but the fact that you get Russell Wilson, he can improvise and he can make a team better. So I think the needle mover for me is the Chargers.
Yeah,
I think they did it.
Nate, who you got? Who really pushed it forward for you this offseason?
Well, obviously, I'm going to start with the Jets. They're very close to being a competent team.
I just want everyone listening to know we're a completely unbiased podcast.
Completely unbiased. I simply believe that it's true. Do you disagree?
No, I think I put them in the top 5 of off seasons. Yeah, for sure.
If I was going to say who won big, you guys already said it. Denver, though. I think that Denver fans are in for a treat because everything I've seen from Russell Wilson suggests he's the kind of guy that probably had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder with the management and coaching after all that stuff the last couple of years before he got moved. So I think he's going to be able to let that go and look really strong. Yeah. That's my big one. I think the Broncos look great.
Man, I mean, besides the old Bengals, I think we haven't really talked about them much. I think the Rams are a clear winner in free agency. They didn't do anything big besides signing Allen Robinson, but they did re-sign to their key offensive linemen in Noteboom and Brian Allen.
And they locked down Stafford, right?
Yeah, they locked down Stafford basically to finish his career there, and I think they may take a chance and re-sign OBJ. I think they're going to be one of the teams to give him another chance, and if they do, now you have Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and OBJ. That would be insane. But based off of what they've done so far, I think they did what they had to do to keep their Super Bowl team together. I mean, obviously Witt retired, so you have to find a hog molly to replace Witt, right? But for the most part, they kept quiet. They did what they have to, and they said run it back. You can figure out how to replace Von Miller, which you can't. So just find you a good edge. But let's, outside of them, obviously Buffalo gave more weapons to Josh Allen. And yeah, the Buccaneers. We got to say it. They got a quarterback. Got the best quarterback in the league.
I mean, addition by just subtraction in that whole division.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, there were a lot of teams that were kind of disappointing. It's that gif of the guy with the stick that's poking it and says, "Come on, do something." We got a couple teams like that. Nate, I mean, looking at this free agency, there were some teams that had a lot of question marks, whether it was Seattle, New Orleans, the Giants, Texans, but a lot of teams that didn't do anything. If you had to pick someone that lost free agency, who you giving the participation trophy to?
Well, the Giants weren't able to get anything for Saquon yet, right? Because they're ruining the rest of his career keeping Danny, right? So, Giants are big on my L sheet. I feel like the Cowboys are also kind of just treading water here. Didn't seem like they're a team that even if someone's like, well, they didn't need to, well, they're still not winning games, so they clearly need to do something, and they haven't. Those are the two teams that come to mind the most for me. I've tried to follow some of the Eagles stuff. I don't know that they were able to really make much happen there either. I know they got Scott or Sanders on another contract.
We'll give them a second round pick if they give us Gardner Minshew.
You know what? I would love Gardner Minshew should be starting somewhere in the NFL. He should be.
Yeah. What about you, Ant? Who lost?
that whole damn division that he just said, the whole division.
Actually, I didn't even realize I was talking myself into an NFC East circle.
I was like, did he read my mind? That whole damn division sucked. Like, let's just be real. Carson Wentz was the most notable offseason move in that whole division. Mm-hmm. And he went to the Commanders?
Yeah. Right? Commanders. Well, first of all, the Commanders lose based off that name change.
Right. So
L plus ratio plus owner doesn't care about decaying stadium.
Exactly. I think if I'm not mistaken, Bobby Wagner signed with Dallas. But this whole division, they lost.
I mean,
as a unit, as a team, yes.
They lost. Man, hey, you know what? I'm giving this old fat L to the good old Chicago Bears. They said coming up, they were, hiring new GM, new coach. They're like, we're going to build around Justin Fields. So what did they do? They stacked up on defense. They signed Alquan Muhammad. They got Justin Jones. Don't get me wrong. You got a solid defensive end and a solid defensive tackle out of that. But what'd you do on offense? You signed Brian Pringle, who was a number 6 in Kansas City. You signed Equanimous St. Brown. Got that one on the first try. Thank you. From the Packers, who was a number 4 in the Packers. And they got Lucas Patrick, the guard from the Packers, who's a serviceable guard, but not that great. I'm just saying right now, you add a bunch of players that are okay. You're not building around your franchise quarterback in Justin Fields. And the Bears didn't do anything to set Justin Fields up for success. I mean, and then we can talk about, technically you can talk about the Texans because they haven't done much, right? They didn't sign anyone big. But I mean, they also have 487 draft picks over the next 3 years now. So the Texans don't get an L completely. One, because they got rid of Deshaun Watson, and two, if their GM is smart and he does what he was hired to do, they'll be good in 2 to 3 years. So this was a step forward for the Texans. But yeah, God, the Bears. Just when you're like, oh man, they got a good head coach, got a good GM, you sign Equinemius St. Brown. Good name, not a great receiver.
Jeez.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, but with that being said, that's the end of the free agency special from the regular season. As always, gents, thanks for joining me. Any last words on free agency besides Gardner Minshew to the Panthers? Are we all part of that train now?
Yeah. Panthers can have Gardner Minshew. I don't have any problems with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, look, I'm even wearing my jorts with my Panthers gear to prepare for the future.
I mean, Sam Darnold's the future.
This year is going to be this NFL season. This year, NFL is going to be nuts. We're still 6 months away, which makes me very sad, but it's going to be wild.
But we'll say this. We do have one more stop before we're off until the preseason, which is we have the first night of the NFL draft coming up. We will be hosting the draft live right here Thursday night one of the draft. We'll be hanging out, drinking some brewskis, eating wings, doing our thing, talking about the picks, giving our analysis, what we think should happen, and obviously being wrong on most of it. But we'll hang out, have a good time. We're going to have some guests come in, so make sure you all tune in. We'll be live when the draft starts, which I think is like 6 Eastern, 7 Eastern, something like that. And we'll hang out. And like I said, people come in. We got some special guests lined up. Hopefully we can get a cool list, and we'll have a revamp of what you're looking at here. But thank you all in chat for hanging out. If you haven't, you can always check us live on Twitch over at twitch.tv/rdsports. Otherwise, give Rare Drop Sports a follow on Twitter, as well as a Twitter follow to all three of us. You can find that in the description of the podcast. And make sure you guys keep tuned in. We're ready for the draft. Malik Willis going number 6 to the Panthers. Cross my fingers. Unless we get Gardner Minshew, then we're going to get Charles Cross, the offensive tackle from Mississippi State. But other than that, everyone have a great day and a good week, and we'll see you guys for the draft. Thanks so much.